And welcome to another episode of Rell and Good on the Crawford Podcasting Network with my good friend, number 40 out of Riviera Beach, Florida. He's up in the upper right-hand corner. Richard Rellford. The guy could just fly through the air and do those hammer jams. And a lot of people always ask about you. Can you still dunk right now? Now, how do I answer that question, Rich? Can you?
Tell them I can grab the rim.
All right, I'll tell. Okay, that's the answer. That's the canned answer. I know a dude below, a national champion, another Michigan man through and through, member of the 1989 national championship team out of L.A. He actually brought up in Ann Arbor, son of Rell Higgins, the legend. Rell Higgins played for Ann Arbor High, Eastern Michigan, went on and played in the ABA, I think. Right, Sean? Your dad, Rell?
Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sean, it's always great for Rich and I are always excited when you come on with this because you know you're going to bring energy. We know you're going to bring it real, and we know you are going to infotain us. You're going to inform us, and you're going to entertain us because you're very entertaining. But anyway, great to have you here. I'm going to ask you, Sean, right off the bat. Okay, how happy were you to be a Michigan Wolverine about 11:25 or 8:25 your time or 8:50, whatever it was in Las Vegas when Michigan beat the Washington Huskies?
Oh, man, I was totally excited, man, ecstatic. I was running around my living room here at the house, going crazy. I went out on my patio and hollered, "Go Blue!" I was going crazy, man. You know how it is, Tom and Rich. You know what?
Yes.
Anytime we win big games, ball games, I was the same way doing the Rose Bowl.
I know.
Yeah, me too.
The Rose Bowl was so sweet because when I was in school, Michigan just lost roll. That's all I did was lose Rose Bowl games.
Yes, yes.
You guys were in school actually when there were bowl wins, though. That's I never experienced that.
Yes.
But I'm telling you what, that Rose Bowl and that goal line stand, Milrow got stopped. I mean, you're running around too with your Michigan family, I'm sure.
Listen, Tom, I was so ecstatic about it. I was so happy because I was listening to my friends who said defense wins championships.
Yeah.
And we had the best in the country. And so listen, man, these people in my neighborhood thought I was crazy because I was screaming and hollering and blowing horns and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a great moment. And I got the first question when we get into our I got to ask Sean. Okay, you won the national championship, Michigan, 1989. I'll never forget that moment. There's my two of my greatest Michigan moments. Obviously, what happened this past Monday night, and then when this fellow was playing for the Wolverines. They beat Seton Hall 81-79, and such an integral part. You hit the game winner in the semifinal against the Flying Illini, which is, in my estimation, one of the great college basketball teams of all time that didn't win a title, Illinois. But, I mean, the following year, Sean, I mean, you lose Glenn Rice, which is a pretty good void there. There's no doubt about it. But, I mean, the expectations are high. You got T. Mills, you got Ramil. I'm trying to think of who else. Lloyd Vaught was on the team. Mark.
You still had Griffin?
Yeah, Mike Griffith. Okay. So how tough was it? Did you feel complacent, or is it just teams got better and they knocked you off? How did that play out?
No, actually, going into the season, we were all focused on trying to repeat.
Okay.
And that's what our main goal was. What happened that season, if you recall, I broke my third metatarsal in my right foot. I missed 6 games in the Big Ten. Towards the end, the last, I think I came back the last 2 or the last one against Michigan State. I broke my foot against Purdue. I was leading the team in scoring before I broke my foot. I was averaging about 17.8 a game. Right. And all of us was right around the same clip. Ramil was averaging about 17.6. Terry was averaging about 16.8. Lloyd was averaging about 16. And so we were hooping. And then we got a hold to Loyola Marymount. I wasn't 100%. And then and they were rolling that year. Hank Gallows had passed away, and they were rolling they were having an out of body experience. I mean, a guy by the name of Jeff Fryer, probably no one's ever heard of. He gave us 41 that night.
Yeah.
I remember.
You know what I'm saying? So they were playing on a high. We were trying to beat them with our size, and they were running and gunning.
Well, Well, they're hitting that Bo Kimball in that team. Hank Gathers passed away earlier in the year, but that was a special team indeed. So Rich, I want to bounce it to you about, you have a special relationship, special friendship with Jim Harbaugh. You were on campus. You guys were buddies, different sports.
Yes.
But man, you had to be smiling ear to ear for Jimmy, because I know he means a lot to you.
I was more happy for Jimmy. I'm glad that we won the national championship. When I told you, I text Jimmy right after the game, knowing that he got a million texts, I'm sure. But I text him my new slogan. And my new slogan is, who has it better than us? Nobody, baby. Nobody got it better than us. And listen, it's a great feat for us, but it exemplifies how great the school is.
Yeah.
Because we stuck with Jimmy no matter what happened with all of this sign stealing and him buying hamburgers. And I'm still trying to figure out what sign stealing is, Tom. I don't even know.
I mean, sign stealing, I thought that was part of the game. I mean, that's why you changed your calls, right? You run the same play, you just call it something different.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Tom.
It's the same in the NBA, Rich. You know this in the NBA, everybody runs the same stuff.
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You gotta change the name. Yeah. You might go the language.
Not only that, in the NBA, I was just telling the person this. We looking at the game that we played in the first half at halftime. On the videos in the NBA, in the locker room. We get to see exactly what happened. I was talking to a friend of mine, Derek Gervin, about this. You know Derek. And I said to him, well, we watched it at halftime. We watched what we did in the first half so we could get better.
Absolutely.
That's what teams do.
Yes.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah. And you got teams that are going to call the plays. They're going to call it something different. We'll run the same play. The Spurs might call it blue. The Lakers might call it green.
Yeah. That's exactly right, Sean. That's exactly right.
That's true. Sean, I want you to go back to that wonderful, wonderful trip home from Seattle to Ann Arbor. And you guys go to Chrysler Arena. And, Richard won 2 Big Ten championships, 2 great teams. They didn't go that, they had trouble getting out of the first round. But you experienced it. And Rich's team built the foundation. I'm sure you're the first to admit that.
Absolutely.
Just a couple years prior to that. But what was it like to be what was it like being a student and walking the diag and doing all that stuff? I mean, take us through that from your perspective of the national championship.
They had to make me go to class. I was not going to class. I was hanging out.
That's another topic a little bit later in the show. Okay.
I know it. So no. It was wonderful, man. We came back. I mean, it was like the whole when we got off the plane and was taking the bus back to Ann Arbor. The apartment complexes on the side of 94, people were on the patios with signs going crazy. I mean, on 94 going back up to Ann Arbor. So then we finally get to Chrysler. When we get to Chrysler, it's pandemonium. It's pandemonium. And it's people everywhere. And, we had been up all night. Fisher didn't give us a curfew. He just said, be on the bus by 8. So Rich, you know what that turned into.
Yes. Let's delve into that. Okay, so you're out in Seattle. When did you go to bed that night, Sean?
I didn't go to bed.
That's what I was gonna say. There ain't no bed. We ain't going to bed.
I didn't go to bed. The same stuff I had on after the game, I had on when I got back to Chrysler.
I mean, can you imagine you got 110 football players from the University of Michigan having the night off? You know what I mean? Celebrate. I mean, can you imagine what that would be like down in Houston, what they went through?
And they was in Houston, John. They got a chance to be in Houston to do it. And we know how the clubs are in Houston.
Yeah, they were having the ball.
Right. Exactly. That's like being in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like almost. Vegas stays open 24/7.
24/7, baby.
You're right.
That's for certain. Well, okay, we gotta segue over to this current basketball team.
Yes.
The Michigan basketball team has done pretty good. Okay, I mean, since Sean, you won the national title, there's been some ebb and flow, but it's been pretty good with Beeline and with Juwan, it started out pretty good. I mean, they've had a Sweet 16. They've had an Elite 8. They won the Big Ten championship, man. But these last couple of years, what's going on this year and then following last year, Sean Higgins, I'm going to ask you, point out, I mean, you've seen them play. What the hell's wrong with them? I mean, what would you do to fix this team if you were the head coach?
Well, for one, you got to look at the defensive end and rebounding. We struggle on the glass because we don't box out. We're not physical.
Okay.
And then our closeouts, when we're closing out the shooters, we don't close out hard enough. And I think just from looking at from the outside, I'm not there, obviously, but just from the outside looking in, I see a system that's predicated on the NBA. Yeah. And we don't have NBA players. So year to year, you got to make your adjustments based off of your personnel.
Yeah. You
can't be a one-trick pony and do it the same way year in and year out unless your kids are staying 3 and 4 years.
Yeah.
You got the transfer portal now. You have guys leaving for the NBA. You're going to have new kids coming in now. It's a different lay of the land when you talk about collegiate basketball. So one thing the fans at Michigan has to understand, this is what Juwan's 5th year?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so Juwan's never had any head coaching experience. We hired Juwan Howard to Michigan because of who he was and the way he would resonate with student athletes to bring players in. He's had a down year recruiting because he's getting adjusted to the NILs, he's getting adjusted to the portal. And then he had 2 studs that couldn't get in because of admissions, I think. Yeah, so you got to look at the current situation of our team and give Juwan a little more time to get his act together in terms of understanding every year I can't just play this style of basketball unless I got the horses to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Rich,
and that's it.
Yeah, I those are very valid points, Sean. Now, Rich, why don't you chime in? I mean, you've been there. You sat next to me watching this game, losing to Long Beach State. I mean, a team that wasn't ranked at the time, and they lost. I was there when they lost to McNeese State, and I'm looking at the floor. And Michigan doesn't have the foot speed to counter the foot speed of McNeese State, other than Doug McDaniel at the time. But when you look at it, Rich, is it fixable? Would there be personnel changes at all?
Let me explain. I'm going to tell you why I love having Michigan players on like Sean. Because like I told you before when we said foot speed, one thing that they're not doing is rebounding. They're not boxing out. And the key thing for me is they're not physical enough in the Big Ten. You see these teams are knocking them around.
Yeah.
The transfer guys are. The one kid averaged like 17 during the non-conference season. But now that the Big Ten has started, he's struggling. He's struggling because you guys got to play more in sync. Now, I agree with Sean that Juwan needs more time to get used to not only these NIL things, but your personnel. Because no one's even thinking, Juwan has put 5 or 6 guys in the NBA in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So nobody is staying with him. They're not going. They go 1 year, 2 year. They're gone. Unlike a lot of schools that the players stay 4 years, and you get to create a camaraderie that nobody else has, like we did at Michigan. Nobody left early. We stayed. That's why we won 2 Big Ten titles back to back. And I always make sure I say we won the NIT in the Garden my sophomore year. So we did all right.
Yeah, but it's different. I mean, it's a blank canvas. And Sean, when you look at Olivier Kamwa, I think that's who Rich was referring to, the transfer from Tennessee. He played 37 minutes. I mean, because of the personnel issues. I mean, Burnett or actually Trey Jackson couldn't play last night. He was in protocol for a concussion, and then Doug McDaniel. We're going to talk about that in a second. He's suspended on the road. Yeah, let's go into that. Sean Higgins, you said you skipped class maybe 1 or 2 times your whole career at Michigan, maybe at the max. Is that right? Or
no way. No, my situation was different. It's documented. I can speak on it because it's a learning, it's education. No pun intended. My freshman year, man, when I got to Michigan, I was ineligible for Big Ten play.
Remember that? Yeah.
And the reasoning why, there was 2 reasons. You said at the beginning of the show that, I'm originally from Michigan.
Yeah.
But I moved to the West Coast when I was 11 years old, so I was getting acclimated. I was doing well the first semester, getting to class. But when that snow hit, I didn't have any winter clothes. Man, I was walking around that California windbreaker stuff.
Yeah, Rich had the same thing. Rich went to class. He's from Florida. I went to Richmond.
I'm telling you. But it didn't take me long to get adjusted because, like I said, my roots are there. I had to make my adjustments. But I was ineligible because I wasn't going. I had a couple 8 o'clocks. I wasn't going to class in the morning for my morning classes, and I got stuck between a rock and a hard place for like a percentage point, man. That messed me up. Yeah. And so I got my act together. And then the other part of it was this: is that when I first got up to Michigan, when I came out of high school, I passed the SAT. I had like a 3.4 grade point average, cumulative. But my mother, when I got there, they put me in some classes in the beginning that helped me just get acclimated academically to the time management, not necessarily being able to do the work. That wasn't the problem. It was time management. And so, but my mother called George Huey. You remember George Huey, Rich?
Oh, yeah.
George Huey was athletic. He was an academic counselor in the athletic department or something of that sort. My mother called George Huey and got me out of those classes and put me in all the ologies. I had every ology there was. And so
kinesiology?
I had kinesiology, psychology, sociology. I had it all. So I had to get my act together right away. So with Doug McDaniel, I don't know his situation. I heard it was academics or something. But
I'll tell you right off the bat, I already know. I know he didn't go to class.
Okay.
This is a strange suspension. You're suspended on the road, but you can play at home. I mean, I've never ever heard of such a thing in my life.
No. He can play on the road and he can't play at home.
No. He can play at home but he can't play on the road. He didn't play like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: Is he suspended by Juwan or is he suspended by the school? Or the athletic department.
The statement came from Juwan that I got in an email from Tom Wyrot. Yeah. So Juwan is speaking on it. So he's a head coach. So
obviously he's not handling this business in the classroom, and that's strange to be a sophomore and having these struggles. That's some freshman. That's some first semester freshman stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly.
That's how I felt.
I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. But he's an integral part. He's the only dude with handles on this whole freaking team. I'm going to be honest with you. He's the only guy.
No, Llewellyn played well last night. And let me say this: the first half, they looked like they knew what they were doing. They were in sync, like you said, Rich. Yeah. They were bringing defense. They were defending. They were boxing out and rebounding. And more than anything, the ball wasn't sticky. The ball was moving.
That's right.
The ball was moving and bodies were moving. It was no ISO ball. And so then the second half, they ran out of gas. So I'm gonna add this to it too. They don't look like they're in great shape for the Big Ten, conditioning wise. You got to run these guys. You can't run college basketball like an NBA program. You don't do a lot of running in the NBA. You don't do a lot of running in the NBA in practice because there's so many games. Yeah, so at the college level, look, let me tell you my freshman year, my first practice at Michigan. When I used to go on my recruiting trips, I went on 5 trips. I went to UCLA, Michigan, Texas, Louisville, Kentucky. Every trip I went on, I asked the guys, because my high school coach was a conditioning fanatic. I asked guys, I said, how much running you guys do here? Because I didn't want to do all the running. I'm a basketball player, right?
That's me too. I'm with you, Sean.
Yeah, so when I got to Michigan, Terry and Glenn and all those guys, they lied to me. They said, we don't do much running up here. First day of practice at the end. Now, we just practiced for 3 hours. You know how freeze was. Yeah. We practiced for 3 hours. Then we had to run those 6x36s. You remember those?
I hated those.
6 sprints in 36 seconds.
I hated those.
If you don't touch the line, if one person don't touch the line, or if you don't make it, it doesn't count. We did like 4 of them, and none of them counted. And I laid down on the floor. And Frida said, we're not going until the freshman gets his ass up. And Rice and everybody, all the upper class, they're like, come on, here, get up, come on, man, we'll get it over with, let's go. So I got adapted to the running in Michigan. That's the key. You got to run. They're not doing enough conditioning, it looks like to me. Because they don't. What's that transition? I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
This program, John Sanderson is no longer there because of that little tiff he had with Juwan. So nothing's been, and nothing is.
But Frida used to run us. Frida used to run us, not the conditioning coach.
Exactly. Frida ran us too. Yeah. I'm laughing, John, because Sean is correct. I remember we blew out Northwestern by 20. Frida came back to the arena and told us we got practice on Sunday. We tried to figure out why we practice on Sunday, coach. We ran 16 suicides at the end of practice for nothing.
Ouch.
And we figured out,
let's talk about Doug McDaniel with that. Terry Mills, we were on Steve Bartow's podcast, myself, Mills, and Rice.
Okay.
And Terry told me, he said, I think Ben Higgins logged the most minutes running. We logged the most minutes running at Michigan than any other player in history for not going to class. So you got to if you start making Doug McDaniels run, he'll start going to class. Trust me.
He sure will.
We stayed on the line after practice.
Yeah. Listen, Tom, I didn't tell you this story that we talking about missing class. Yeah. Me, Butch, and Roy decided to miss a sports management class with the athletic director, Don Cannon. We said, we won 17 games in a row. We all of that. We get to practice after one of the classes. And Don Cannon is sitting in Coach Frida's office. I'm thinking, you finna come in here and praise us because we so great. We sat in this office, Tom, and this man looked at us and he said, I can't believe that you guys, of all guys, would miss my class.
Yeah, no kidding.
He said, check this out. I feel like I want to take away all y'all scholarships.
That's disrespectful.
When he said take away scholarships, Tom, I ain't miss another class the rest of the year.
You skipped the wrong class.
Right, we skipped the wrong class.
You're not a very smart dude, man.
Listen, we was feeling ourselves. Tom. We already wear fur coats to games. So what's that? So what? We missing class. Man, listen here. I ain't miss another class the rest of the year and the next year.
You're right about that. You know what humbled me? I didn't miss another day of class either after I was ineligible, but you know what humbled me?
What?
Dun ESPN.
Yeah, there you go.
McDonald's All-American Sean Higgins ineligible for Big Ten play all over the country.
Yeah, no.
On ESPN. My mother called me, cussed me out. My father called me, cussed me out.
But we learned.
To this day, it was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. And that's exactly how we felt.
Hey, Sean, how would you like to have a piece of this NIL money that's going on right now when you were a student at Michigan?
I'd have stayed my senior year.
Whatever, right?
Listen,
yeah.
To be honest, Tom, I feel like I would have made so much money in NIL deals to have been ridiculous because I played 2 sports. Yeah. So coming out of high school, I would have got paid. But my thing is this with the NIL, because I'm happy that players are getting money for this.
Yeah.
But I also feel like the NCAA, we have to cap this money.
Yeah.
If you don't cap it,
structure it.
Right. You got to structure it because when I saw that this kid on Michigan campus is driving a Porsche, I was blown away.
Yeah.
And he didn't even play that much. And he was driving a Porsche.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. And then I see Deion Sanders' son driving a Rolls Royce.
I know.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
We done went to jail.
Exactly. We went to jail. We thought it was crazy. We would have been crazy. But they need to control it. I have no problem with them paying. But they must control it some kind of way. Because kids, I told you there was a 7th grade kid, a football player who's in Texas, who said when he goes to college, he wants $7 million in NIL money.
Yeah.
He's 15 years old, Tom.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna. They're going to have to restructure and put some guardrails on this thing where you can't use it to recruit. Where if you go on campus and then you're on campus, you're part of that program, then you get your NIL deal. That's one thing. But when they're using it as an enticement, like Ohio State did in football with a wide receiver a couple weeks ago, that's flat out payola. That's just paying to play, as Urban Meyer said. So they got to put some restrictions on this thing, or it's going to get nasty.
And then how do you create any kind of culture with that? You got kids.
Yeah, exactly. That's hard. And now football team, that's the magic of this Michigan football team. They had culture and they had guys committed. But with basketball, Texas Tech this year had a brand new coach and all new players. And they beat Michigan by 15. But all new players, all new coach. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like pickup ball. Who you got this? Oh, you want to play with us? Come on over here. Well, let's run with us. That's what it is. It's insane.
Yeah, and with the transfer portal too, it's like the guys sitting on the sidelines. Who's got next?
Yeah.
Right, that's exactly what it's like.
At Hoover Street IM building or at the CCO.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you look at our current team. You look at the guys out there, a lot of them are running around the court like they have big NIL deals. They got the cool jacket on.
Right.
You know why I say that, Rich? Is because when you see guys not boxing out and not giving their bodies up, if you don't give your body up, you got on a cool jacket in my book.
Yeah. I'm with you, Tom. I'm with you on that, Sean. You got a cool body. If you ain't taking charges and you ain't throwing your body into you're really not playing.
Especially T. Reed. Yeah. And I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say it right now. As big as T. Reed is, he's soft as hell.
Yeah, he is. And
don't we talk about that?
This ball up last night. I'm telling you what. The other thing, 19 turnovers against Penn State and 0 fast break points. 0 fast break points and 19 turnovers.
You can't run if you don't rebound, Tom.
That's right. You can't run if you don't rebound. That's right.
And you gave up 52 points in the paint against a below-average Indiana team earlier in the year.
And you look at how Maryland. You look at the guy Dante Scott yesterday. How he turned up.
Yeah.
Once he hit his third three. Okay, we came out. I think we came out of the zone a little bit after that.
Yeah. You did your homework, man. You're right. That's exactly.
Yeah, he shot a lot of zone.
Last question, then. I'm going to give you your associate athletic directors. Okay, so if this season goes as it is, and Michigan does not, they might win 3 or 4 more games. What do you tell Juwan Howard? What do you tell him? Do you let him go? We'll start with you, Sean, or do you give him another year?
I wouldn't let him.
You got to make change on your staff. What are you going to tell him? What are you going to tell your coach?
I wouldn't let Juwan go. He's only been there for 5 years. And he's had some incidents or what have you, and obviously they overlook those. So we're not even going to go into that. Let's just stay technical about what's going on the floor. When it comes to his staff, he has everyone on his staff are X and O guys. Think about it. Martelli's an X and O guy. Howard Isley, point guard extraordinaire, he's an X and O guy.
Yeah.
Scotty Watson has aspirations of being a head coach. He's an X and O guy. Who's doing the recruiting?
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
That's a really
Who's doing the recruiting? Because here's the thing. If you look at Michigan back in the day, and I'm not trying to compare back in the day to today's time, but we kept a group of studs every year. Frieder had them coming in like a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Because it's Michigan. It's Michigan. If you can't recruit at Michigan, you can't recruit.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
So what we got to do, I'm the athletic director right now. So what we have to do is we got to find somebody on Juwan's staff that can go out here and sell Juwan Howard and the University of Michigan.
Okay.
You can't go out and just sell yourself. Juwan's only one guy. Bill Frieder had Mike Boyd.
Yep.
There you go, Sean. We had Mike Boyd, baby.
Mike Boyd didn't do X's and O's. Mike Boyd didn't do X's and O's. All Mike Boyd did was recruit.
Yep.
I can remember Mike Boyd. I remember Mike Boyd coming to check on me way out in Los Angeles. Once I signed, I'd already signed. He was still checking up on me.
Yeah.
You got to have guys like that that's going to come out here and burn the pavement.
Yeah, well, that's what Bill Frieder did for Johnny Orr. I mean,
Frieder did it for Orr.
Bill Frieder.
Exactly. Exactly.
Rich, what would you tell Juwan if this season goes on? What does he got to do? Or Juwan, I think you need. Maybe we need to make a change. What would you tell him? I have an idea.
Well, I'm with Sean on this. I don't think you should let Juwan go.
Okay. Because
it's hard to find guys like Juwan. But what Juwan needs to do is recruit better. Because I understand that he had his heart stuff happened this year. He had heart surgery. So he didn't get a chance to get out and recruit.
Right.
Well, to me, I'm telling you, like I told you earlier, I was talking to the head coach for the University of Toledo, the football coach. And we were talking last night. And I said to him, you're just like Harbaugh. Every time I see you, you're on your phone and all you do is recruit. And he said to me, that's how we survive.
Yeah.
That's how you survive. You have to be able to recruit. You know what I mean? And Juwan hasn't had a chance to do that. But the one thing I would do too is I would make sure I have a guy on my staff like Mike Boyd. Yeah. You need somebody like Mike Boyd. Because Mike Boyd changed it all.
Yeah. You got to have a hustle.
Yeah.
You got to have a hustle. You got to have someone that has connections, national connections. You got to have someone that's respected, and you got to have someone that's a hustler that's going to go out there and get you players. Juwan Howard, I mean, you look at if you look at anything, you always got to have someone that's going to sell the head coach because the top players are going to come play for a coach that they know is going to help them get to the league. Right. So Juwan already has. So Juwan already has that pedigree. Yeah. But Juwan's only one person. So you got to have somebody else on the other end doing the same thing as Juwan. Yes, Juwan has to get on the phone too, but he has to have an assistant coach where that's all he does. If I need to send you on the road, you're not going to be at practice today. You might miss a couple games.
Yeah.
That's right, Sean. I'm with you. I am totally with you on it.
Okay, you guys are totally insane. I tell you, this has gone fast. 30 minutes, like boom.
I know, but I love what Sean is on.
We're gonna have to do this again
with Sean
before the season. He's a busy dude, though. He's on. How much you tell our listeners out there, Sean, before we let you go? What exactly are you doing? I know you're Mr. Vegas right now, and you're a West Coast guy through and through. Tell us what.
Man, you know what, man? I just turned 55, man. I've tapered it down a little bit. I know I'm a young guy compared to you guys, but I got some miles on my body, man. So I just sold a piece of real estate that I own in California. I'm just chilling, man. Just taking care of myself, trying to live healthy.
Yeah, that's good, man. I'll tell you what.
That's awesome, my brother.
Have you on here, and we're going to do it again, like we said, Rich. Yes. And we'll get Butch on here and other guys, and Wayman Britt, and have a Wolverine loving because every Michigan guy I know, whether it be alumni, fans, former football player, everybody cannot get that shitty grin off their face all week long.
we got it, Tom. We national champs, baby.
That's right, all day.
I tell my wife, you can say anything to me. I'm not going to be in a bad mood. I'm too happy right now.
I'm too happy, man.
I'm one of the biggest trash talkers on the West Coast. Bless, trust, and believe it.
Right. There you go.
All right,
guys.
Thanks again, and Rich, and have a great weekend. Thanks again for being on All Rell and Good here on the Crawford Podcasting Network. Take care, guys.
All right, Tom.
I appreciate you, Charlie. I appreciate you. I'll call you when I'm there. Much love, bro.
All right.
All right, guys.